July 8th. Team No Sleep in the building. What's going on with you, man?
Man, hanging in there, man. Staying blessed as usual.
I
You know,
appreciate it. I
getting
appreciate it.
ready
Yeah.
for the week, man. Happy belated 4th of July.
Is that right?
You know, yes, sir. I mean, happy belated 4th of July. Yeah, you celebrated it too. What you talking
I
about?
know. You was out there doing the beach thing, doing your thing, and I saw the pictures on. Well, you told me you was doing it on social media, so nothing wrong with that, brother. Nothing wrong with that at
Yeah,
all.
yeah, man. We gotta change it up, man. We can't all be like you, be up in the woods.
See, there you
You know,
go. I'm not going. I'm not even
fishing
going.
and doing the cabin thing. So we had to be out there in the sunshine with the folks.
Hey, I was actually working hard too. So look, I didn't get a lot of R&R. I got more power washing. We won't get into that though. We're gonna stay focused on tonight's show. What's happening to the folks joining in? Let me make sure that our comments are lined up and properly branded. Seniors in the building. Uh, Laura Williams, how you living? Such an important show. We appreciate you. Yeah, this is an important show. You don't even know the topics we're gonna talk about tonight, but yeah, we are gonna get into some things. We might stir a few feathers. I'm glad brother Charles Jackson is in the building because I was just watching his stream. See, Montel, you need to go ahead and subscribe to Charles Jackson Media. This
Okay.
this this man has some conversations about some real hard hitting types of things. I know I did my state of the world conversations really during the pandemic and doing some things, but he's got this ongoing dialogue that's happening. And Race Talks with Charles Jackson, I believe, is the title of his show, and it's definitely a worthwhile subscribe, worthwhile listen, and it's full of good information for sure.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'd love to be a part of it and listen to it and watch it
Yeah.
and the whole nine. So
Yeah. I
definitely.
was I was rocking his hat the other day. He missed it. I'm trying to I'm trying to represent for Charles Jackson Media. Dr. Bracy is in the building.
Oh yeah, there we
Uh-huh.
go.
He watching the game with one eye,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
and
yeah,
and,
yeah,
and he
yeah,
and he
man.
gonna
We
listen. He
appreciate
gonna listen to us. With, with,
we
with the
appreciate
other.
the love, Kev. You know what I'm saying? You got to do it all ways, every which way. I'm just getting off work, so mind me being on the computer for 8 hours a day. But
Yeah, I was wondering when you was gonna show up because I don't like to be on CP time, and you was a
I
little
know,
late.
man.
So what I did again in your tardiness, I bought in
Oh, don't put me on
I
blast like
bought in
that.
someone else. See, man, I don't like tardy. I don't man. Me and CP time don't get along. So,
I
uh,
feel you. I feel you. But
shouts out to Tall
man,
Boy in the building.
the plantation owners got to get their work out of me. So man, I gotta pay bills. So
It's all
I had to
right.
run that last report for the
It's
boss lady. So it's all
Hey,
good.
we all got to do what we got to do. Tall Boy, talk to us. How you living out there in Hotlanta?
Ah, man, I'm good. Look, I had the game on. I'm on Clubhouse per your
Okay.
recommendation. I'm over here listening to Derek Floyd and Doc Rock, another Ecam people. So, I'm trying to, I got to check on, what those Mac guys are doing over there and trying to, see if Milwaukee's going to slip one out. That's about it.
Okay, so hold on. So the PC VMix guy is listening to some Ecamm content creators spit a little game.
At the end of the day, all you're doing is just trying to find somebody that can provide value, and I think that they provide value. So you can always get gems anywhere. I mean, Montel can be late, but he's still gonna drop a gem, one or two gems.
Oh,
All right, all
appreciate
right.
that, brother man. Appreciate
Yeah,
that.
yeah. See, he cutting you slack. Me, I'm like, we're gonna have a conversation
I'm gonna get
in
on
the
him
after.
because his audio not right, but it's all good.
It's all good. Let's go ahead and get focused, y'all. Let's go and get into this. I'm gonna bring up this first story that I wanted to talk about. Damn, I shouldn't be.
Oh yeah.
Um, I think this is we've got a number of topics to talk about tonight, and some of them are good, some of them are bad. But I think this is a decent story here in regards to this particular naval officer. Uh, Went through the ranks, right? Went through practice, went through training camp, and all of that. He is a commissioned officer in the Navy, so we're going to appreciate him for his service when it happens. But the initial conversation was that he was not going to be able to go and play for the NFL. He actually drafted by the Tampa Bay, right? But long story short, some more conversation. Secretary of Defense actually has granted this man permission to go out there play his NFL career, however long, however short that may be, because again, you want to think about the longevity of an NFL player. We talk about some players and it's 15 years or whatever the case may be, but that's definitely the minority. But after he's done playing, he can still come in commission as a naval officer. Talk to us a little bit about your guys' thoughts on first and foremost the original statement, right? That he's done all this training, he's done all of this exercise, he's done all of this, his life's work to prepare to go and play for an NFL team. He makes it to that. He makes that goal happen. He's got two paths going in life. He's also now in the Navy, another justified, another highly valued opportunity from an employment perspective. They say he can't go do his other dream. Let's start with our guest first. Tallboy, talk to us a little bit about what your thoughts are on this.
Honestly, when I heard about it, I was like, the first thing you say, man, this is some fragganackle bull. But it's like you have to understand he did make a commitment to sign up to the military. He's got to do his 4 years, 6 years, 8 years, whatever that commitment may be. But then on the flip side, you got to look at it and say this man has worked towards it, and would they have done this had he not been African American?
Mm.
And then I'm also looking at the Secretary of Defense. I guess that guy that's on the picture that you had scrolled up. I think he's a brother, and he's probably seen the struggle. And like you said, this is a guy that um, he he has not made the team for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So there's no telling whether or not he's going to make it or not. Now, personally, this is a shot at Tampa Bay. I think the person who told him no, they just weren't Tampa Bay fans, and they were like, "Well, since you going over there with Tom, now we're not going to let you do that. You're not going to come back into the military with a championship ring." So that that's what I was thinking. So I'm happy for him. I'm glad that they were able to change the decision. And, this new generation, they want it now. They're not waiting. They're not paying dues. This new generation is saying, why not now? Who said, who is they? So I salute, the people or the powers that be that said, hey, he's open to, it's not like he's trying to get out of his commitment. He's just trying to live out both of his dreams.
I agree with you. I agree with you on that. Montel, what do you think about this whole situation, man?
I think, like you said, he made a commitment to go in the Navy. That was probably his way out or his way in to get his education and do the things he wanted to do. And now that this NFL opportunity just came to par, it kind of reminded me of David Robinson back in the day. David Robinson was a basketball player. He was in the Navy. They had to make a decision, but David actually had to serve his 2 years. And I think, that took 2 years off of his NBA career. This gentleman right here seems like he's going to be a high prospect to be a possibility to make the team and play in the NFL. I think the military should cut him some slack. He's achieved something that, many people can't do, to go play professional sports. And I think being in the academy, serving his time in the academy is more than enough time due to be able to go ahead and go test your dreams and figure out if it doesn't work, he gets to go back to the Navy. If it does work out, there should be an out clause for him to be able to go live his dreams, represent the Navy as an NFL player, not just that, and put that on the spotlight, be a poster boy instead of somebody that restricted him to live his dreams out. Because it's a hard task. It's a hard task to get to the Navy Academy and just play football. And not only did he make it through the academy, but he's also made it to the level where he's an elite professional.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So let's give his roses, as they say. Now let's give him his roses and give him his props and let him have the opportunity to go play. So I think it's the right decision. And I think they're correcting their wrongs. Before I think it would be a wrong decision if they said no. This gentleman was able to go back, analyze it, figure it out, say, you know what, let's get this young man to get out and give him an opportunity to go play. So I'm all for it.
Right on, right on. I will go ahead and say I apologize first and foremost. I'm pushing all these buttons, and I had it still in preview mode. I had it on Tallboy halfway through your statement, but I brought you back.
It's all good, man. It's all good.
You got your boy flustered over here, right? I'm see what happens when you show up late? No.
I'm gonna get you back on this one, but okay, I got
you. No worries. Hey, next story I want to get into, and now we're gonna go ahead and start getting into more of the social impact. I think of what's going on because I think we're going to have this discussion as well. So Rachel Nichols. A lot of folks know her if they watch ESPN. She's very active. She's very well known. What was it? The Jump. She's got a
Yep.
show on ESPN. For the majority of the semifinals, majority of the entire NBA season, she's been on the sidelines reporting, right, doing her job, doing her due diligence, doing a decent job as well. There's a First of all, let me say this. Shouts out to ESPN for all of the women that they got on the sidelines doing work. I mean, I am seeing a lot of women. You shaking your head, but I'm seeing more women, and this story is going to relate to more minority opportunities that are blatantly lacking that needs to happen within a large conglomerate like an ESPN. Tall boy, I see you shaking your head. I'm gonna let you get into to that and see and tell me why you disagree with just the statement that I made there. The story that I'm bringing up is apparently Rachel had a hot mic while she was talking to some folks about the opportunity to continue to cover the NBA Finals. She made the statement while on that mic, and it was in regards to Maria Taylor, who was also a reporter, and she says, and I quote, "I wish Maria Taylor all the success in the world. She covers football, she covers basketball. If you need to give her more things to do because you are feeling pressure about your crappy long time record on diversity, which, by the way, I know personally from the female side of it, like, go for it, but find somewhere else. You are not going to find it from me by taking my things away." She had a hot mic. She was in her hotel room with a crew. That hot mic got transmitted back to ESPN corporate, and they said, "You know what? We can't have you now making these types of statements and being on the sidelines, stirring up these types of, I'm gonna say, controversy." So they pulled her from it, and I actually see Maria Taylor sitting at the at the booth now, doing most of the reporting and actually on the sidelines covering the NBA Finals. So, what are your guys' thoughts? Primarily, let's start with women minorities in sports coverage, specifically ESPN, as it relates to this particular story. What are your thoughts on the statement that was made by Rachel Nichols and kind of the opportunities that are there for the other women, the other minorities that are covering these types of aspects? And do you think that she was wrong in the statement that she made? I'm setting everybody up on this because I know how I feel, but again, I want to hear how you feel about that one. So Tallboy, let me ask you again, what are your thoughts on the statement that Rachel Nichols made about don't take away my opportunity to give it to someone else because you, ESPN, feel that you have a faulty diversity practice within the organization?
To answer that question, I think it was a fair statement. Um, it's no different from you being at your current job, Montel, you're being at your current job, me doing what I'm doing. I paid my dues. I'm working hard. Yes, I see somebody that's coming in and they're just as hungry as I am, but if you want it, you got to come get it. I'm not going to just give it to you, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that it was a hot mic, we already know that was a brother or a sister that was a producer or who was in that control room. You didn't tell the whole story because they actually reported this story last year when this happened, and it didn't go anywhere. They tried to kill it, and I guess they tried to pay off whatever the person that got it. It didn't really go anywhere until this year. So I'm not mad at Maria, because Maria is just as hungry as I am trying to get into these content streets and get my name out. And I want to cover certain events. I have friends that work or trying to be journalists for the Atlanta Hawks right now as we speak. And there's people that are above him. And it's like, well, when does the young guy get the opportunity? So for her saying that, it was a valid point. Hey, she's in football, she's in basketball, but I'm not getting ready to lay down my bag for you. I
Mm.
mean, you're not going to there's enough for us out here to eat. So to answer your question
Uh,
and to let Montel respond, and then we come back to the next question, that's where I just feel like, the person that got that audio, that leaked that audio, they were wrong. But at the end of the day, it's like, hey, I'm on Team Maria's side as opposed to Team Rachel's side. So we're gonna get some buzz out of this. And now that we have this Me Too movement, and because of the unrest of George Floyd, this was a perfect time for it to come out, and that's why you see more African American representation on the sidelines. For the NBA Finals.
Interesting. Okay. Okay. Mr. Allen.
Yes. For me on the statement, when I first heard it, I wasn't offended. I read it again, listened to it again, still wasn't really offended. And then I said, you know what? If we took race out of the equation or out of the statement, would there be an issue? If that was a young, Caucasian lady that was doing the same thing, and she made that same statement about a Caucasian lady, would this even be on social media or anything? I say it wouldn't. I not saying that Rachel was right, but I don't think she was wrong either. She was just defending her ground. Hey, this is my spot. This is what I've done. I worked really hard to be here. I should be the sideline cover person. And regardless of who you are, I'm not, give her something else if she wants to, but she shouldn't be able. She shouldn't have the ability to take this away. I've earned this right. Now, with that being said, I understand ESPN's ground on it as well. They're looking at the race card issue, and I think in this one, the race card is not. It shouldn't even be involved in that. She's just defending her ground as a commentator. And I love Malika Andrews. She's doing a great job. The young girl coming up is doing the sideline reporting. I love all of them the way they're doing anything. But this is something that I don't think had anything to do with race, and they brought race into it just because the person she said something happened to be African American. That's my particular opinion.
So you think ESPN is trying to be too cautious, or again, as you say, within this movement time frame, within everything that's going on in society right now, they're overcorrecting.
I think they're being I think they're being overly sensitive about the issue and overly sensitive about comments. I mean, everything people says is you got to put it in this right content, right context, I should say, when they're discussing the issue. She's defending her ground as a commentator, and as a female commentator, that she says, I've earned this right to be on the sidelines and doing this. I've done the jump. I'm doing all these things. The other young lady's done all these other. She has football. She has basketball. She's doing things. Give her something else. But this is my lane, and that is Rachel Nichols' lane. Basketball. She's been doing basketball for the last 15 years on ESPN. Yeah. This is my lane. This is my lane. How you gonna take away my lane all of a sudden? Just because? Not because you outworked me. Not because you outdid me. Not because you won more Emmys than me or anything like that. Just because. And she was defending her ground. I'll never bash anybody for defending their ground. And I think I don't know, purposely or non-purposely, ESPN is throwing the race part into it, and that's where it gets sticky, and where people start to get sensitive about it.
Yeah. So, and when they do that, when they do that, outlets need to at least have the conversation, and that's pretty much what we're doing. That's why I raised that conversation. Now, Tallboy, you kind of smirked, or you made a face when I said ESPN is actually having decent representation for females and minorities on sideline and doing reporting. Did you not agree with that, or
they're only doing this now because of the unrest of of what we had last year. I have a personal colleague, Elle Duncan. She's now getting a little shine on ESPN now, but I mean, 5-10 years ago, she wasn't getting any love. And it's like, you had great journalists or sports commentators that were on that show, and now it's 2021. They're only doing this just to appease those women, because if you think about it, the NBA is a lot more soft than what it is, because now they're trying to make it a family sport. The football is a little bit more where you can't hit them in a certain area, because you have now women and their families watching the sport with us. And now ESPN is now saying, you know what, we're going to have women on the sidelines to relate to the women viewers. And now, and this is no knock against, women broadcasters, because there's some that really know their stuff, and they really are passionate about playing the game of football, basketball, or, baseball. But I do think that ESPN is now saying, well, we have to give it to someone of color. But it's always been that one token black. It's not the man of who has the best content or who produces the best or who, gets the word out the best. Unfortunately, just now is the time where it's like, hey, we need to have more black representation because we're now saying we want to be counted, we're going to be equal, and if not, we're not going to watch. So,
That would be my
like I
next
said,
question. Do you think this is going to cause them to lose viewership? And I'm sitting here trying to think on top of my head, where are people going to go? Right? Because
Fox Sports. I mean, Fox Sports is good. I mean, you got Undisputed. I mean, unfortunately, ESPN has the contracts of certain sports,
yeah,
and so they have no other choice until that contract is up. But I mean, you got to think TNT has contracts. Amazon is now getting into the contract game. With Amazon Prime, you got to think that Fox Sports is trying to, do MMA fighting. I think I don't quote me on that one, but they're trying to get it. So when those bids are up, ESPN has always been known from Stuart Scott to Dan Patrick, but it was always that one guy. I don't know the guy's first name, but his last name is Hill. And I was just watching an interview that he did, and it's roaming around on Instagram right now and Facebook, where they were saying that they were pitting him against Stuart Scott. So why can't they both be good? But they said we already got the token black, which was Stuart Scott, and you're too ghetto for the content. We got that for Stuart Scott, and I was like, wow. I grew up watching ESPN.
yeah.
When I was in high school, certain teachers would have ESPN on TV, and we love Stuart Scott and how he delivered that message, his messaging, and we tried to, emulate, Stewart's words. But this other brother Hill was great, but he never got the shot. And to see Stephen A. Smith is now that one guy. What about the other people that are looking to get opportunities that are just as good, but you won't give it to them because you have that one token black?
I hear you. I hear you. That's an interesting point. I wish folks, hopefully, folks that are watching and listening right now would chime in because I know again these may be awkward conversations, and I'm sitting here pitting Cain against Abel purposely because I want to have that type of dialogue and that type of discussion. And you over there playing with your sound machine, aren't you, Montel? You over
No. Oh, you
no,
want
yeah,
Montel?
Montel, he over there playing with his sound machine.
I, I just let me add this. I just think it's unfair because we grew up saying America, we love America. All, we were raised to say we're the best at whatever we can be. And I'm looking at certain people. Now you're looking at the athletes are now retiring that grew up in my era, and now they're now getting opportunities because they can provide value of what it was like being on the field, being in the mindset of that person's of being on the field or being on that court. But what about those journalists that went to school for this, and now you're now pushing them out for the athlete and giving them that job? So whether you're white, you're black, you're female, it doesn't matter. It's like, so when I see Rachel, it's like, hey, I'm holding down my spot, and I wish you would come and get it. So if you want it, you got to come take it from me. So you have to put yourself in the mindset of somebody who went to school for this. They
Exactly.
eat,
There
sleep,
you
and
go.
breathe statistics, and you're telling them there can only be one black. So where's the real diversity? So now I look at ESPN totally different, and a lot of respect has gone out of the door for the, out of the door with me for them, because it's like we always were taught: put your best foot forward, work hard,
Mm-hmm.
and put your resume out there, and may the best man win. You're telling me, well, if there's already one there, then there's no slot for
Then
me.
there's no more room.
Not that
Yeah.
I'm qualified.
Yeah. It's an unfortunate situation. I appreciate the dialogue again. I feel very similar to that. Right. Again, I think this is a low blow. I feel that this is just unwarranted dialogue, but I feel that it is a valid conversation that needs to happen because we need to call these entities on the carpet for stirring up something that doesn't need to be stirred up, right? So again, that was the reason behind the question, and I wanted you guys to also hear my perspective on it as well.
Let me comment on that though before we go to
Yes,
the
sir.
next subject. The female representation I really think is good, but I mean I think that's kind of always been there. They always want to put the pretty girl on TV to not only tune in to female viewers, but also to tune in for male viewers to look at it. Um, but it's all about, like you said, the race thing is this, which is the part that disturbs me a lot, especially with ESPN. I mean, Jamel, I think last in Hill, the former commentator that used to be on there, she talks about a lot of the bad things that go on ESPN in the background of it, and how her show got canceled because she stood up for the things that she thought that was racial injustice, and ESPN didn't back her up. And now, I do see ESPN is kind of hypocritical. Just like Talbot kind of said, I think hypocritical in the stance that you didn't stand up for her when it was about George Floyd and all Black Lives Matter and all this stuff. Now all of a sudden, you want to throw all these African Americans front on TV, forefront, whether it be in the commentating stage on the sideline, whether it be on Sports Center, whether it be on something. Now you kind of like, hey, we're down now. We're okay. We understand. We realize we're here now. We want to be representation, but then also again, let's talk about the merit of your job. Let's erase the color thing because we know that has to be there. That's an obvious thing. But let's talk about the merit of your job, and this is back to Rachel Nichols. She's good at her job. She's very good at her job. So her comments weren't out of content at all. I'm good at what I do. I've done it for the last 12 to 15 years. I have my own NBA show that I talk to these gentlemen every day, 5 days a week, and I talk to them on the sideline. I know what I'm doing really well. I made a comment about another person that's coming to get my job. If that was a man instead of a woman, again, would this be an issue? I don't think it would be an issue. But now we throw the color dynamic into it. Now ESPN is making this an issue. And let's be honest with you. It brings ratings and it makes us read these kind of stories that to me are just not even warranted. It shit's not warranted. But I believe, as far as the female representation, like you said before, I like it. I do. I'm glad they're bringing it to the thing. But also, when is it overkill? And when is it not about their resume and it's just because she's a woman she gets the job? When does it become there's a person that's more qualified? When does that person be able to get in there? So where do we where does that line get drawn? I think it needs to be the merit on your references, your character, and your job skills and how you do it. On the person needs to be forefront in there because I want someone knowledgeable than someone that's just a woman about the sport.
Makes sense.
In all fairness, real brief, I do think, and I don't know if you saw Maria Taylor's response on TikTok. I don't know if you saw it or not. Just saying, hey, we're beautiful, we're talented, we're Black, and we deserve our rights. Something to that effect. I do think, in all fairness, that she should be afforded an opportunity.
Yes. Yeah.
And I mean, you had a whole year because this didn't just happen this year. This happened last year while it was in the bubble. So for this to resurface, I mean, it's just amazing how it all launched or it leaked out the day of the finals or the day before the NBA finals. You could have talked about this at Christmas. Yeah. You could have talked about this, at the start of the playoff. It's just ironic that it just comes right back out again. Yeah. The day before the finals, and this was something that was last year. So in Maria's defense, she should be given an opportunity because she's just as good. But
yes,
at what point? But at what point do you step on Rachel's toes, shall we say? And she is now lost the opportunity.
Yeah, but in what you just said, I agree with you 100%. But why couldn't it be a dual host of two women on the sideline, one covering one sideline, one covering another? Their ESPN is smart enough. I would think they're smart enough as a company, and they've been covering sports for so long that they would be able to figure out a way to be able to combine their abilities and give them one where they can slowly move Rachel out and move somebody else in, or someone like that. They're far from done because they make too much money and there's too many smart people in those positions. But
think about who runs ESPN, bro. Old white men,
I know.
And they're stuck in their ways. I mean, come on, they don't see anything different.
But transition and shifting of the guard could work both ways if you think about it right enough. I think Malika Andrews is going to be a phenomenal reporter. The young lady, I think she's going to be phenomenal. I think she's gotten her feet wet. She got her feet wet in the bubble last year. She's still doing a tremendous job. doing the sideline stuff like that that she does with interviewing the coaches and stuff after the game and everything. I think she's the up and coming rising star out of all them. But then again, like I said,
It's another
where
one. Y'all missing Elle Duncan, and they won't even give her a shot. And that girl is better than Malika, but no one knows because they've never given her an opportunity. I've seen her cover sports here in Atlanta. She's been up there in Bristol for 10, 12 plus years, and she's just now getting an opportunity. So I mean, so there's talented women there. There's talented African American men there, but they're not given the opportunity, and it's unfortunate that it can only be one, as opposed to we're going to put the best representative for our
regardless.
brand out there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just ESPN that this happens to. This happens in local news. This happens, on in regional sports. I mean, this happens in college sports as well. This happens. So I mean, you have a big Duke fan, and there's a black woman or a black man that knows Duke basketball better than the guy that's the man on the street for ESPN. And I mean, yeah, he's got some swagger, but I'm pretty sure you put one of us out there, but you down there talking about Roll Tide. Are they really gonna give you a shot? Are they gonna really get,
They're gonna show you the door real quick when you start talking
yeah,
about the wrong institution. Yeah, yeah. I love it. I love it. Thank you for the dialogue, team. That was good, and I hope folks got some valuable insight on that right there. Let's before we switch over into the Olympics, because we're gonna talk about the Olympics. We're gonna talk about that. Let's go ahead and talk about these finals. Let's go and talk about these NBA finals. Let me go ahead and he don't cry. He gonna cry in the car. Look at him. I know you mad that the Hawks. Y'all did a phenomenal job this season, though. Let's go ahead and talk about that, right? We had the finals right now. We got Milwaukee, we got Phoenix, two small market teams, not the ones that probably many fans wanted at the beginning, right? Because again, you want those bigger markets, but then those who are real true sports fans, right? Irregardless of the team, just want the better team to be in the right position to win. So I've always tell Montel I love the story behind it, right? So I love the fact that we got the Suns out here doing some things. I love the fact that I don't like CP3, but I love the fact that Booker's out here doing his thing. I love watching Giannis out here, him and his brother, same team, opportunity probably of getting the championship. So I love the story behind that. Your Hawks did a great job. Trae Young is a beast. Talk to me about what you think his future looks like, because he took them further than anyone outside of Atlanta probably thought that he would. And if he hadn't gotten injured, I think that it would still be playing right now. In my mind, they were playing with so much fire and dynamicism. I thought that they would still be going right now.
So your question is what?
What do you think about the Hawks in terms of their season that they had this year? How far that they've gone, and where do you think that they'll go? How do you think that they'll continue to build moving forward?
Well, personally, I was not happy when they let go of, I think it's Lloyd Pierce. I know his last name is Pierce. When they let him go, I was kind of disappointed. But the fact that they brought Nate McMillan in, apparently he was able to, take that team over the hump and get them to play better than what Pierce was able to do. I don't think anybody expected the Hawks to do what they did in the playoffs. When they beat New York, I mean, we already knew, like we were really the better team, but because they let a game slip or something like that, we slipped to 5, and they got I think we had tied for the same record, and they ended up getting the 4 seed. But because it was New York, people were like, "Oh, Atlanta is nothing," blah 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 blah. And then when Trae took his bow in New York, it was like, "Hey, we are the show." When we went down to Philly, it was, unfortunately the mishap of Ben Simmons not being able to shoot.
Man,
I mean,
Ben Simmons scared of the ball.
I mean, it was what it was. So it was like, okay, now we're here with Milwaukee, and we already knew that Milwaukee was the better team. Now, when Atlanta won that first game, it was like, hey, we really have a shot. we could really do this. But I think we were shorthanded because you had DeAndre Hunter who had surgery at the start of the second round. You had, I forgot who the other player was that was already out. And then you basically, when Trey got hurt in game 3 or game 4, I mean, it was like, well, there it is, because who else do we have? Um, so at the end of the day, no one expected the 5 seed to make it as far as they had made it. Let's just call a spade a spade.
Right, right.
Last year, Milwaukee was a 5. I mean, Miami was a 5 seed, and they made it to the finals. That was the first time that had ever been done. So to see that the very next year a number 5 seed made it, you're looking at Trey Young with, I mean, there was a real solid core that was there. Cam Reddish came back in the last game. What if he would have been there in game 2 or game 3?
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, people don't. I mean, we just didn't have the manpower. Let's just call it what it is. So I think the hashtag was believe. And Atlanta, we were definitely true to our city. Atlanta did it in Atlanta, fashion. We
Yeah.
stunted. We had a good time. We
Of
had the
course you
Migos
did.
down there on the floor. We was just doing what we
Absolutely.
do. So at the end of the day, I did not. I believe that they could make it to the finals, but when Trey got hurt, we already knew
Yeah.
that was it.
It was gonna
They
be too
did,
tough.
yeah, and then and the good thing about everything is yesterday, and today they've been talking about. Um, Nate McMillan has been named officially the head coach for the Atlanta Hawks, and the owner is willing to spend more money to get solid players.
Yeah.
So that's a first because Atlanta's never been willing to spend money. So,
Mhm.
and then now they have to figure out what they want to do with John Collins because he wants the max.
Yeah.
So is John Collins worth the max? Me personally, I don't think he is. So if he doesn't get the max, he's going to go somewhere where he's going to get max money. So overall, I mean, I give them a B plus. I mean, they did great considering the circumstances.
When
Yeah,
when when I was gonna say when Trey shook him off, that one play, boy, when he shook him off on that 3-pointer, that I
But he
just
did, but he did too much of that. You shake him off in the fourth quarter. You don't shake him off in the first quarter. No, I mean, so now you're ruffling feathers because now as an athlete, it's no different. Montel, you played football, and if somebody, I mean, yeah, you sack my quarterback, but you don't dance on top of him. No, I'm coming for you next. So in basketball, it's like now if you did it and the game is convincing, and there's no way I'm coming back. Yeah. Or if it's the dagger, yeah, you stunt. But you're doing it in the first quarter, in the second quarter, you don't do that. You saw Giannis in the timeout saying,
yeah,
"Hey man,
he
he
ain't gonna do
doing
that
this."
on us. Yeah, he ain't gonna do that to us.
No, come on, man. We're not doing it. But not lay him out. Do something. Like he's not gonna be able to do that to us. So I mean, but at the end of the day, Chris Middleton, he stepped up at a very key time,
Right.
and I mean, I think he had not played well at all in the playoffs, and but he came on at the right time, and that's what he was their second piece. And when Giannis went down, he
Hmm.
showed why he was an all-star.
Yeah, yeah. Montel, we've talked about on the other side, on the west side, about Kawhi, right? And the Clippers, and the fact that should he come back, will he come back? Does Bomber want him back? Does he want to go back to LA? And where he could fit in? I saw some stories about Damian Lillard today. He said he's keeping all his conversations in house about what he may be doing. What are your thoughts on the Western Conference, and where we are right now with all of those trade possibilities, and with how you see Phoenix doing thus far?
I think let's start with Phoenix. Phoenix, I believe Phoenix right now is they're just at an all time high. I'm not a Chris Paul fan, but he's playing like he really wants a championship and put it away. Devin Booker is an up and coming star in the league.
Yeah,
I think Payne, the backup guard, is going to be somebody phenomenal. He's quick off the ball, quick dribble. He knows how to finish. Phoenix is playing at a really good. They're playing a really good tempo style of ball that
mm-hmm.
caters to them right now. And if Milwaukee doesn't make the right adjustments, which tonight they should make the adjustments, hopefully. If they don't make the right adjustments, I can see this series going in 5 to Phoenix. I believe they get 2-0 tonight. I think they'll split in Milwaukee. And then I think they might close it out of Milwaukee. I think it's a 2-3-2. I think they can close it out in Milwaukee, and more worse, they can close out at 6. But they're just playing a really good game. And if Chris Middleton is in all cylinders, if Drew Holiday is in all cylinders, if Giannis isn't being Giannis, Milwaukee's going to have a hard time because their bench is not as strong as Phoenix's. Phoenix has a pretty good depth. They got a lot of depth on their benches coming in, just putting in points and playing at crucial time. Now, with that being said, though, when they go on the road, it can be a different story. That road monster is something different when you play in Milwaukee, the way that crowd goes. So it may shift when it goes there, but we'll see how that plays.
Because Giannis won't have people counting at him while he's up there at the free throw line.
Yeah, it's taking 25 seconds to shoot a free throw. But as far as the Western Conference goes, man, it's gonna be the shuffling of pieces and who ends up in the right spot. I know the Lakers are gonna make a lot of moves to some people. Like Talbot was talking about, alluding to, contracts are gonna play a big thing as far as on the salary cap. We have, Dame may be on the move. They're talking about that several other players. Kawhi may be on the move. There's just going to be several key players that are going to be moving in different geographical locations to see where they happen. I think the most interesting rumor I heard was, though, that Dame would like to play for Utah. That's crazy.
How much do you think that's the team, or how much do you think that's Dwayne Wade?
I think that's not even either one. I think it's Dame, because Dame played at Weber State in college. So he's very familiar with Utah. Okay. He's very comfortable in that environment. So him going back to that environment won't be anything different or new for him. That's almost like a welcome him home, because he put Weber State on the map when he was in Utah. So he's comfortable with that lifestyle. I believe he lived there for 4 years. So I think that's okay with him. And I think he understands that Utah has a very, very good team. Utah's 1 or 2 players away from taking it all away and being something very dynamic. The other interesting part I'd like to see, I'm hoping if all this kind of flails out, I hope Carmelo ends up in a place where he can win a championship before it's all over. Even though he's on the very decline of his career, I think he's well deserving at least to play in a championship, maybe help contribute some team getting there. But the only team I can see that's going to be that if he ends up going to the Lakers as a free agent at a very reduced price. So I think the West is just going to be a bunch of shuffling around. We're going to see who ends up where in the gelling. I'm gonna be a Golden State Warriors fan. Obviously, I hope they can get them that fourth piece to be able to get them back in the mix again. Hopefully, Klay Thompson stays healthy. They'll be the question. They'll be the if. The maybe team depends on if everybody comes back healthy. And the draft. I mean, I'm not particularly too high on the draft this year. The players that are coming out, I'm sure some of them. I haven't got a chance to watch all of them because college basketball is so watered down now. But depending who gets who and who gets what. And I mean, watered down because they don't televise it. But not that the skill set is there. They just don't televise it.
Just the draft year.
Yeah. It's just it depends on who falls where and who they can trade for who and get where to kind of maneuver those pieces to kind of make sure they align right away. So the all-season basketball is just as entertaining as the season to see who goes where and see who makes up. So I'm excited for the finals to end and see the free agency begin.
There we go. You got any more basketball news that you want to talk about since we got you here, Mr. Guest? Want to open the floor to the basketball man. We can talk football and baseball all day, but we'll go ahead and talk.
I take it you already talked about NIL.
Yeah, we had a great show about that last week, and so it'd be interesting to hear your perspective on that as well. Actually, I went to lunch with some clients today, and we were talking about the whole name, image, and likeness, and how that's really transformative, just in the fact that it's providing opportunities. I think
James, let me interrupt you real quick. Tallboy, I want you to talk specifically about young Miller in the NIL.
Okay.
And being going to Tennessee State and getting this $2 million.
Oh.
That's what I want you to talk about. That's what I want you to talk about. I know you're a No Limit Soldier.
Here we go. Let's get an exclusive.
Talk about that one in particular.
Damn, son.
Well, basically, it's all about relationships, man. Let's just call it what it is. I mean, you can take me off the screen solo. It's all about relationships because we already knew that he had a deal that was waiting in the ranks, waiting for it to happen.
Yeah.
And that's only because his father was who he was, as in, Percy Miller, a.k.a. make him say Master P. I was just reading yesterday that Peyton Manning's, Archie Manning's grandson or son, his youngest one, I don't know, another Manning is about to be a freshman, and he's about to sign a $10 million deal. So I mean, and then it was like the players are about to start making more money than the coaches, which to me, I'm kind of like, I'm happy for you, but do we get any of that residual from what's about to happen from when we played college basketball? So I'm happy for the college athletes, but in particular to the question you posed to me, Montel, I'm happy for them. But think about it: you're getting $2 million. You're 18 years old. I don't think he's gonna blow it off because he's been raised and groomed, but he is gonna do some dumb things and he is gonna stunt, and he has to worry about other kids being jealous of what he has, and any other popular athlete that comes from your Shaq's son, your Dwayne Wade's son, your Serena Williams kid, whoever, you're going to have that added pressure unless you have a team or you got a bodyguard around you, if that makes sense. But I mean, they're kids. They're 18. They're going to do dumb stuff, So
as long as he don't do what Kodak Black did and flush all his money down the toilet and throw it off of the boat. I saw those videos. So I know I shouldn't be deviating, but
you're diverted now. Oh,
he's not even an athlete. He's not even an
you know what I'm
athlete.
saying? But again, we're talking about youngsters.
But they're gonna make it rain in the clubs.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they're gonna be driving around in fancy cars and rims. We already know that this is what's gonna happen because even I was driving around with some knock in the back of my 1992 Hyundai Sonata. Didn't have the rims, but you can hear me coming off the exit. So, and I didn't have that kind of money. I was just using my financial aid stipend. Your FAFSA check, and that was going to speakers. So.
Got him some pioneers.
So talk to. I got the question is because you play basketball and you play hoop. What? Because that's a lot of pressure, to get $2 million. Going to be the face of Tennessee State, obviously, HBCU player, and to get that kind of money. What if he's unsuccessful? What if he's not? What if he's he's not playing very well? What if he's one of those guys? How's he going? I can only imagine what kind of scrutiny that's going to come with this money starting.
But it comes with the territory, right?
Does it? $2 million. All the eyes aren't on you when you get $2 million. All those eyes aren't on you.
The $2 million is coming from the endorsement. So now, if he locked in an endorsement that is guaranteed $2 million and not based off of incentives, then he's good.
No, I'm not talking about from the fan of Tennessee State and all the scrutiny and all the media, all those people on him. I think that's tough for an 18-year-old to handle if he's not being successful.
Let's just be honest. I think Hersey can handle the scrutiny because he's had his dad around him and taught him how to hustle and taught him how to, be successful, how to be a businessman. And he's also saw the hate that his father had to go through. So he'll be okay. Now, the next athlete who gets a Heinz ketchup deal or that gets I'm just thinking of a off-brand, a Cinnamon Toast Crunch brand, and they're getting this and they're not successful. Will they be able to handle that pressure? Hersey is okay because he comes from a father that knows that's if your music sucks, there's always been a hater somewhere, so he knows how to deal with that pressure. He has someone that he can have that conversation with. But when you talk about somebody that lives in the hood or in that neighborhood that isn't as successful as where Hersey has been living at for the last, 4 or 5 years, because I think he's been in Minnesota and not in California. Those are the kids that you have to worry about. The kid that does not have that parent to talk to you, that father that does not know how to say, son, in life, you're going to make mistakes. Like the young lady from the Olympics, you're going to make mistakes, and this is how you handle that. She doesn't, as a female, male, if you don't have that father figure or you don't have that entrepreneur or you don't have that, person to say, hey, this is what it is. But if you got that mom that works 9 to 5 and then she's got a second job from 5 to 10, she's not really there, the father's absent, then they don't know how to handle that pressure. Hersey doesn't have that problem. Manning doesn't have that problem.
Yeah. Well, and I was kind of alluding to that. Not so much Miller, but I'm saying all these kids are going to get this money, especially ones that are going to get big money. It's going to be interesting to see how they handle the scrutiny if they're not as successful as they're deemed to be on the field or on the court or whatnot. Because what comes with money, even though it's coming from sponsors, comes eyes and comes pressure to be successful. And with those things being all in place, this is gonna be an interesting dynamic transferring to college to see when someone is not doing as good as they're supposed to or deemed to be doing as great as they're supposed to. What happened? Like who's a Heisman Trophy guy? If he's a Heisman Trophy hopeful, and then all of a sudden he gets a big contract and then he's a bust that year, or he doesn't do very well that year. Then we're all, this guy got $5 million for doing this. He's not performing in the field. He's distracted by the money. I could just see all this undue pressure on 18, 19, 20 years olds now because the money's in place.
I think that the Supreme Court should have put a cap on it because I do think it's gonna get out of hand. I think the first 2 to 5 years is going to be all right, and I think they're going to go back and revisit this. And I think this is why the NCAA did not want to have this. I think the NCAA and the Supreme Court should have had a conversation to say, let's set up, or they should have created some type of committee of former athletes to say, hey, we're willing to cap this at this. You can do this, A through Z, and this is what you get. I think that's what should have happened. But because you had the Supreme Court, you've had other athletes speak out negatively against the NCAA, it's like, well, we really don't want to have anything to do with what the NCAA has to say. We're just going to tell you these kids can make this money, and that's what it is.
Yeah.
So I think that there should be some type of regulation that goes behind it, because to see a kid with $10 million, I mean, man, you're a walking target, brother. I mean, that's a bullet. I'm going to go get going to get some gas, and a homeless person gonna be like, oh, that's Isaiah. That's Isaiah Hicks, and it's like now Daddy got to come down there with a shotgun because it's like, but it's like you gave him this money, you got to surround him around protection, and now do you get the big head? Like do you get the big head because you got a crew around you to protect you, a professional bodyguard to protect you. Kids want to be kids. They're gonna be kids. So I mean, I just think there should have been some more, some form of regulation to go with it.
Good point.
Yeah,
Good
I
point.
agree.
Perfect add on to what we talked about last week about NIL and the whole, again, just the pros and cons of it, and just the aspect that putting the right people, putting the right team around some of these folks, especially these kids, right? Especially now they're gonna have more zeros in their bank account than they have ever seen. Yeah, you're gonna be able to take care of your family and all, but man, you got to be able to take care of yourself as well. Let's go and get focused. Stay on loving the dialogue for sure. Let's go ahead and get into the Olympics because there's a handful of stories that surround the Olympics. Um, First of all, 49-41, about to close out the second half, going to halftime. Phoenix is leading Milwaukee right now. Um, Nobody's going to be able to go to the Olympics. we kind of knew that, but now with this new state of emergency that's been declared in Tokyo, folks that may have not paid attention still went ahead and bought tickets. Thought they were going to get in there and see Simone do her thing, or see whomever do their thing. It's all going to be televised. So that's a whole. You got to try to fathom that. Put your head around that. The Olympics, no participants, no regular attendees, no civilians will be there cheering people on during the game. So I mean that's going to be a huge mind shift undertaking for the organizers of the Olympics. I mean, how can you just look at the opening and the closing ceremonies, right, and not have everyone in the stands, not everyone watching while the athletes are running around the track. I mean, that it's going to be hard to fathom that. It's going to be definitely a weird experience to take a look at that. So, it's COVID-19.
Can I interject here?
Always.
Real brief. They had
Always.
already said Tokyo had already said no spectators outside of Japan, and only a select handful of spectators can come. They had to wear masks and they could not cheer. Which
Yeah,
I was like,
but
how
yeah,
can you come
but I'm saying,
to?
remember that that was the rule. But you know, there were still folks from the United
No, I
States or
mean you
whoever
gotta have.
who bought tickets and said, you know what, I'm still gonna get in.
They haven't even opened Japan up.
But
Japan's not open to the public, so it was only for the people. So that's first. I mean, Europe is not open. Asia is not open right now. So I mean, basically, you're coming in. All the respective countries are flying in, and you're getting that special accommodation to come in through border control because you're a part of the Olympics. I mean, we can't get a ticket.
makes sense. Makes sense.
So I mean, the only bad thing was the spectators that were afforded a ticket to go. They had to wear a mask. They had to go back home, and they could not cheer. And I just found that how do you not cheer when somebody dunks on somebody or someone does a triple jump and breaks the record? So I just find that very hard. But maybe the Japanese people are very disciplined and cannot and can be mute and I don't know.
I think this is going to be. I mean, I understand why they're doing it, and I appreciate them doing it. But having no fans in an event like that is not. It's just not the same. It's not going to be the same at all. I mean, a person like you said running that 100-yard sprint, and there's nobody even there to cheer him on or clap to him. And I know track doesn't usually typically have a lot of people, especially in college, to go there except for the championships. But just basketball, it's like they're playing in the bubble again. Boxing, there'll be no one there when they do the boxing. I mean, yeah, we need to have the Olympics, but me personally, should they have postponed it, or should they have kicked it out and said, we're not going to have it this year
Mm-hmm.
until we really get a clamps on this thing, so we can have fans and do it the right way and push it out, where Tokyo has the next one whenever they have it.
Right.
I just don't think having no fans, man, this is going to be. I don't know how great that's going to be, on TV or TV would be obviously because it's where I would watch it, but I mean, it's going to be great for NBC or whoever has the rights because everyone's going to watch it on that one channel because they can't attend. But as far as being a participant in it,
Yeah.
it would. I don't know how motivated I would be as a participant, except maybe just to win and win out. But I mean, when that crowd's cheering for someone to win the 100, or even when they were doing swimming, cheering for Luke, to swim and break the records in swimming, that crowd gives you that extra oomph. Those fans give you that extra oomph.
And
Whether
that was
they're
the reason
against,
why, that was
whether
the reason
for
why
you
I
or against
brought the story up. So yeah, that was the
you.
reason
Yeah.
why I brought the story up.
I know that they're protesting right now. The locals in Tokyo, they were speaking on that in the 5 o'clock news today, saying that they don't want it, and I mean, so there are some protesters that are out there. It sounds like it's a money grab. NBC wants to make their money. The Olympics want to make their money, and you got to think that if these athletes don't perform, you don't get to make any more money as an athlete
True
until the
that.
next 4 years. And so this is where these athletes make their money by performing well and placing. So then that way, when they come back home to their respective countries, you're now donned as a hero. You're getting your endorsements. You're getting on talk shows.
Yeah.
You don't get that if there's no Olympics.
It's true.
So this is a big financial burden for some of these athletes if the Olympics does not take place.
I agree.
That's
I
true.
agree. You brought up swimming. Let's go ahead and talk about swimming a little bit. Let's talk about again social impact. I don't think anyone else is probably going to go as deep into this conversation as we are. I got it highlighted right here. The soul cap. The swim caps for thick curly hair are not allowed at the Olympics. Swimming caps designed for natural black hair won't be allowed at the upcoming Tokyo Olympics, with the sports world governing body saying they are unsuitable to them not following the natural form of the head. And I say that part in quotes. Um, Here's what they look like, y'all. Let me show you what they look like. Here, this is the Soul Cap XL. I don't think everyone's had a chance. I think folks have probably seen the story, but thought that they were some extravagant piece or something of that nature. But that's the extra large. I don't know if that looks too bad to me. Okay, so there we go. That's a good image representation right there. While I go through some of these images, you guys tell me your thoughts first of all on this ruling. Uh, do you agree with the ruling? No
Hell
judgment.
no.
No, I was gonna say
Hell
I was
no.
gonna say no judgment, yay or nay. But tell me why you feel that way. And again, I'm poking at the scab, right? Just to spur up the conversation and the dialogue.
I mean, for what if it's why it's not an advantage to them to wear the hat in a sport, to wear a cap over your hat. So why is it disallowed? I can see if it causes an advantage or something like that, but it doesn't. It's a hat that's a cap that protects their head and allows them to swim. The other ones obviously don't fit, or they don't fit right or make or feel comfortable on the swimmer, so they result to this cap. Why is it banned? If it doesn't enhance you to make you perform better, or give you some unfair advantage, then why would you take it away except to be racist? And that's what it is. You're having because African American, especially African American women, are now starting to become, or African Americans or Africans are starting to become dominant in that sport.
Mm-hmm.
They're starting to become a player in that sport.
Look at the junior
So
one.
I think I
Look at
think
the
it
little kids.
it's got to be racial. I mean, to me, there's no other thing but it can only be racial motivated. There's no other cause for it for them to ban it. Unless, tall boy, you know something that I don't know in regards to it.
Can you pull up the double XL?
Now, so let me
So
see.
my
What?
initial thoughts were just like you, Montel. And when I saw that the caps, I had to think, and I understand I'm not taking anything away from how a person lives their life and how they choose to swim or anything like that. But that does provide. I mean, you're talking about inches and seconds, and the way that hat is shaped, that could literally possibly give you an advantage if you have that type of hat.
How
Oh,
you touch it with
oh,
your hand? How
you
yeah,
think advantage? I actually think maybe disadvantage by having
yeah.
the double XL because you've got more buoyancy, you got more weight on you. So that's interesting that you think that would
But
give you
but
an
you
advantage.
but you got to think if you have that if you got that lead and then as you put that arm extend that arm out and as you push off your head or that cap may actually tap and that could be the matter of seconds. That's my personal thought.
Hmm.
So I mean, I was originally with you, Montel. I mean, I know that I'm probably anybody that's African American is gonna probably like, what in the world is he talking about? I do think that I do think that it is unfair, but I do think that the Soul Cap should have went to the Olympics. They should have went to somebody and
Hmm.
said instead of just putting this on the market and saying, "Hey, you should have said, how do we get clearances for this moving forward?" And I think a lot of people are just doing things and it's like, I hate to say it, but the Olympics are the Olympics and it's their rules. And if you don't come to if you come into a company and say I want to, participate in your event, but I'm going to play by my rules, they're going to look at you and say no. It doesn't work that way. And I'm pretty sure we're
Yeah.
going to end up talking
Eh,
about that in the next story
yeah.
or in one of these stories before we end this show. But I mean, I just think that the checks and balances. I think if Soul Cap would have did their due diligence and said, how do I get in front of the Olympic Committee? Not even the U.S. Olympic Committee. I'm just saying the national board. I'm pretty sure you had 4 years of trying to find a way to get a meeting with them and say, how can we get this as an approved cap? You didn't do that. And unfortunately, these African American women are now getting into the sport. They've been using the cap. There was never no problem until now, but now the Olympic Committee is saying there is a problem. And so it's not just Americans. Think about the people in Jamaica, think about the people in Kenya, think about the people in the Bahamas. I mean, it's not just Americans that are, being uh, disadvantaged. I mean, that's just my thought process. I just think that you had enough time to reach out to the proper people and you should have got it approved based off
See,
of what they say. Now, I do think it's wrong that they are being biased
Hmm.
towards that, towards the rate, this race of this race of people, saying that hey, it does not the other cap does not naturally fit. But I mean, we didn't have this problem 4 years ago. We didn't have this problem 8 years ago. So now, why is it all of a sudden we're having it in 2021?
See, I agree with you to a certain point, but I also think that the Olympic Committee has some responsibility as well, because if they see these people starting to qualify in these events and they're wearing this hat that they disagree with, they could have reached out to say who's your vendor, who's soul cap. We need to have a conversation with them because you will not be allowed to wear those. It shouldn't have to come to the last minute when we're going to the Olympics.
But is that the Olympic Committee's responsibility, or is that Soul Cap's responsibility?
Or is it a little bit of both? Because you're saying these people they're able to compete in all these events leading up to the Olympics. They get you qualified for Olympics and wear this hat. You mean to tell me there's no one on that committee say, hey, you know what? You guys need to understand, if you keep wearing the hat, it's not going to be allowed at the Olympics. Or, you need to talk to somebody. Because Soul Cap might not even know it was an issue. They probably thought, hey, it's just a cap. You wear swimming, it should be A-okay. It clears everything.
So let's play devil's advocate here. Let's play devil's advocate here. What year did Jesse Owens run that race?
Oh, man.
What year was it when Jesse Owens was in the Olympics?
Oh, way back, brother.
And he won his first gold medal. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so with that being said, I don't know the year. James can probably research it real quick. But there was a small company called Nike that came up and said, hey, Jesse, would you be willing to wear our shoe? And because he wore their shoe, and it was no one complained about the shoe. Nike became who it became because he wore that shoe. Now, playing devil's advocate here, what if Nike was not allowed to wear, Jesse Owens was not allowed to wear Nike's shoe? Would Nike be where it is today? Probably not, because no one knew what Nike was until a small company said, would you be willing to wear our shoe? So I'm just playing devil's advocate here. So, I hear
you, but I think then, I don't want to play that. I'm just saying now, leading all the way up to the Olympics, these African American and especially African American women that have been swimming in all these competitions and all these competitive platforms to lead themselves to get themselves qualified for the Olympics. At what point did any of those governing bodies say, hey, that hat is going to be a problem? No, I don't think anybody's told them. Someone told them that they could go back to Seoul and say that, hey, we can't wear your hat in these events because we can't wear it in the Olympics. I think there's a break of communication somewhere, and at the last minute, all of a sudden, now we get to the Olympics, hey, you can't wear it. This should have been said in the qualifying rounds. This should have been said way back then, and they could have been having some conversation to be able to get it either approved or disapproved at that point, and we wouldn't be having these kind of conversations. But to have it at the point where we're about to go compete for the biggest platform of their lives and say all of a sudden you can't wear the hat that's comfortable for you swimming, all of a sudden because of your hair, the makeup and the texture of your hair and the shape of your hair, where you've been kicking butt all this time, you can't do it because that hat is not conforming. That's a problem because it has nothing to do with an advantage. It's not giving me an advantage in the sport that we play. I'm just a better swimmer, and I wear this hat because it makes my hair dry and in a comfortable situation. So why did someone say it up until that point? So I think it's a break in communication both. Soul Cap should have said something earlier to make sure it was approved, and I think somebody in the Olympic Committee seeing these people competing and winning should said, hey, we need to talk to you guys because that's not going to be acceptable when you get to this event.
And you would think that you would think that an organization like the IOC, the Olympic Committee, would have something like this in place, right? But you got to think that there are vendors and manufacturers always trying to hit them up and saying, can you wear my hat? Can you wear my shirt or whatever? I remember a couple of years ago, Ralph Lauren, it was just more of a gag because the uniforms that they made for the U.S. team looked, I don't know, they look crazy. So it was an issue with that, the uniforms that they wore when they were marching out for the opening and closing ceremonies. For clarity's sake, though, it was 1936 with Jesse Owens, and it was Adidas. So.
Okay.
But yeah, my stance on this as well. I wish that it had gotten through all the hurdles as well ahead of time. I wish again it wasn't the last 11th hour that we're hearing about this. And now if these athletes were already wearing these caps while they were training, now they got to change, and that could be devastating for a professional athlete now having to change their pattern, their routine, right? What they're used to, their gear. right, and wear something else. So if that's the case, then that's going to be unfortunate. I don't think that it would give him advantage because if anything, I think it would be a disadvantage if it's bigger and it's heavier or whatever the case may be. But then just your skill set and your ability to blaze through the water is what's going to get you on the pedestal. But
But let's not duck around the story. It's racial. It's racial. There's no
It
other
is.
way but to
no, it
say it's
is.
racial. You know,
It is.
that's that's a racial that they're pointing out. I don't know why they did it because we haven't won in swimming in a while, I don't believe. But why all of a sudden you're pointing out African Americans and their hat wear now at this point? If it's nothing else but racial, because no other race wears that hat. From that I know of, no other race wears those kind of hats for their hair to be that way. At least in competitive swimming, I haven't seen it. So it's disappointing that the Olympic Committee would do something like that or not come to some type of resolution at this
Man,
particular point.
we got a lot of bad news around the Olympics because we'll close with the elephant in the room. That's probably a bad analogy. I probably should have said that, but um, Sha'Carri Richardson was poised to dominate. She she was going to be the next Simone Biles. Simone Biles is on top of the mountain right now, right? And Simone Biles and Oprah Winfrey up there on top of the mountain. When Sha'Carri Richardson ran that 100 meter at the Olympics, she was going to win in such flair and fashion, and we was going to be jumping and we were going to be cheering. She got caught up in situation, right? Unfortunately, she lost her mother, so prayers to her extended family on that. And she says that she was mourning that and went and smoked marijuana with some people. This brings back a question, Tallboy, that you were mentioning about again these athletes, these amateur athletes at this age, at any age, having the right people around them, having a good team around them, and saying, hey, Sha'Carri, yeah, I know you just lost your mom, but this may not be the right time to do this because of X, Y, and Z, and what could happen. But outside of the 100 meters being suspended for a month, she also was left off of the relay team as well. So she no longer has a ticket to Tokyo. And many athletes, many professional athletes, many celebrities, many people in media, many people who have a platform are rallying around her and saying, you know what? And they're essentially repeating the tweet that she sent out. I'm human, right? She made an error. She shouldn't have her entire life turned upside down because of that error. She smoked the weed while she was in Oregon. Oregon has actually legal recreational usage of marijuana at the time. I'm just stating that because that's in the story, but I'm just putting that in there for context. But talk to me, you guys, about this entire situation that has now just exploded into this woman again was on her way to being on the Wheaties box, literally, right? It was going to be that person that we were all going to be cheering, wearing her jersey, whatever the case may be. And now, unfortunately, it's turned into just an unfortunate 7 days for her, right? To where now again she's not even competing. Who knows what's going to happen subsequent to this? How does this affect her revenue, her money moving forward? We talked about those types of things as well. Tallboy, we'll start again with you just because you're the guest, man. But just everything that's transpired for Sha'Carri Richardson over this past 7 days. Your thoughts on it?
This is so many levels, man.
It is.
Um,
It is.
so, do you want me to start on the Shikari side, or you want me to start on the Olympic side? How do I feel about which one first?
Whichever one has your heart the most.
So let me do the bashing of Shikari first, because at the end, I think it's all about uplifting, our women and letting them know that they're beautiful and they're awesome. But at the end of the day, you still have a responsibility.
Yeah.
Um, you ran track at LSU. You're not stupid. They tell you that they're going to drug test you.
Mm-hmm.
You know the rules of the IOC. No drugs whatsoever, and marijuana is one of those on the list. So although you're human, you're an athlete, and in the Olympic world, you're an athlete first, human second. sad that we think that
Mm.
way, but
Interesting point.
you
Yeah.
know, Montel, you've been there. You're athlete first, human second. You know what they say? Uh, books first, athlete, basketball or football second. You know, is that not what they do? The coaches do it all the time.
It ain't true though. Yeah, I got you. I got you.
So at the end of the day, your friends, your team, your surroundings, and I get it. You're from Dallas. You're from the hood. You know, you was ready to turn up, and
Yeah.
unfortunately, you lost your mom, and you know, it was one of those things that I think it was a part of you wanted to party and get it out, but then also you were still mourning the loss of your mom, and you know, maybe that marijuana did ease some of that pain. So I still blame you, as in
Mm.
Sha'Carri, for smoking the weed, and I blame your team for allowing you to smoke the weed. And whoever put the weed in your hand or the marijuana in your hand, I would probably get rid of them as fast as I possibly can.
Exactly. Yep.
So that's the onus on Sha'Carri.
Mm-hmm.
Now, on the flip side, when I look at the Olympic Committee, I look at it as she is human. You forget that you made mistakes as well. We've all made our mistakes. So I get it. The rules are the rules. Because if she can get away with it, then everybody else can get away with it. And the laws have not changed in America to where, you know, it's deemed okay. So I understand why you made your stance. The rules are the rules. Even though Oregon is relaxed, that does not mean that the IOC is relaxed. I get that, but you still forget that she still is human. I think America was not ready to see. Can you put that picture back up? The headline picture that you had. They weren't ready to see that on a Wheaties box. They weren't ready to see that, you know, on doing commercials, and
Mm.
her being who she was and her personality. Because if you look at her interview after she won the Olympic trials, America wasn't ready for that. Let's just call a spade a spade. They weren't ready. They were like,
I
she's going to
I
represent
would have
us.
said that 4 years ago. I would have said
No,
that during the time of 45. I would have said that
no,
during,
no, no.
but okay, okay. I'm sorry. I'm gonna let you keep going.
I'm
I
sorry.
apologize.
I know that this is what do you call this? A social what do you call this show? A
This
social what?
the social impact of sport.
A social impact. The social impacts of sports.
Yes.
White people are not ready to see a girl that talk hood, that's got orange hair and got long fingernails with designs on. They're not ready for that. And yes, they weren't ready when 45 was here. Black America is now saying you're going to respect who we are, and but that still does not mean that people are still comfortable with it, if that makes sense. So even though we're making announcements and saying that we're here and we're going to be unapologetic about who we are,
Yeah.
America's not ready for that, and they've never been ready for that. So had she not got on TV and said what she said and did it in the flamboyant way that she did it in, she probably would be racing in that other opportunity that she had. Do I think it's wrong that they took her off that the last race that she was eligible, the 4x100? Hell yeah, they were wrong as hell for that. They know they were wrong. You said
Mm-hmm.
30 days. 30 days means 30 days,
Yeah.
not 33 days.
Yeah.
If you should have just gave her the 4 month or the 1 year suspension, and then that way it would have been a done deal. 30 days is you don't go to jail for 30 days and then they say, oh, well, we lost your paperwork. You can't get out. That just doesn't happen.
Make
They
it
just call it
plain.
what it is.
Make it plain.
So I don't know if you saw her TMZ Sports interview that she did yesterday or today that came out at the airport, where the guy walked up on her and she was like, how did you find me and stuff like that. I think she handled that interview very well. It is what it is. You know, we move forward. Sha'Carri, put your crown on your head. You walk with your head held high.
Yeah.
You're a beautiful woman. You're talented. We all know what you can do. They know what you can do, and they're just not ready for it yet. So I do blame you for doing what you did, but at the same token, I think it's still dead wrong because 30 days is 30 days.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's my take on it.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I sure would have loved to see her running that anchor leg though. God,
We all, yeah,
I was ready.
because even her running anchor and winning, that would have still been a story on top of the other story,
Yeah.
and they didn't want that. So that's why they, like I said, America has some issues. As much as people want to come to America, they don't understand how ugly America really is. We as African Americans cannot be who we are,
Hmm.
and you can't be who you want to be at your job. You
Hmm.
still have to put on the hi. My name is James Hicks. You're not. What's up? This is James Hicks over here. You can't do that at your
Yeah,
job. You can't.
depend on who in the room. That's true. That's true.
But
Yeah.
yeah, so now you're about to put that on our TV screens. Us, we get it.
Yeah.
Us, we love that. But you don't see Bill Gates and Mark Zuckerberg and Jeff Bezos stunting like they daddy, like Master P and Boosie and Allen Iverson. We don't see that. Like the African Americans, we stunt. White folks, they just come and do it gracefully and they keep it moving. And because she was flamboyant at the Olympic trials, they're not gonna let that. They're not gonna
Man,
let that happen.
I just man, I'll let you go, Montel, with your piece, but I sure did want to. I wanted to celebrate her, just being her at these games on that center stage, and so I really am just depressed, to be honest with you, that she's not going to be there representing her country, her school, her alma mater, her squad, and all that. Montel, your thoughts on the whole Sha'Carri Richardson
Yes,
debacle?
Sha'Carri, I applaud her. I think me personally, I think she's a role model. She took accountability for her actions. She expressed how she was remorseful for her actions,
Mm-hmm.
and she chose a way to correct her actions and how she's moving forward. That's the young. That's a one. That's a powerful young woman.
Mm-hmm.
Black, white, green, orange, or purple. That's a strong woman right there, and I really do applaud her for her taking accountability and showing she can move grace past this. I think that her competing days aren't over. I think she still have one more shot. I think she still has 4 more
Yeah.
good years
Yeah.
in her running, and she'll be able to redeem herself in the next Olympics. And like you did say, Tall Boy, I hold her accountable for smoking weed. She did it. She made a mistake. But like you said, with rules are made to be rewritten. This is a rule that it's been proven it's not an enhancing drug. It doesn't enhance your ability. It may let you get some rest. Maybe it helps you get rest of life, but it doesn't give you a competitive advantage in the sport. So I think something like that should have been overturned or should have been reviewed by the Olympic Committee or should be reviewed by the Olympic Committee. Um, and again, I agree with you. I don't think mass America was ready to see that image everywhere of her. I really don't. I think they have a problem, like you said, with an African American woman. I mean, they have a problem with Serena. They have a problem with Venus. They have a problem with Naomi. So can you imagine what they're for Sha'Carri? She's long orange hair, done up nails, tattoos. She's from the South. She's got a little bit of swag to her. The way
Got
she
a whole
handles
lot of
herself,
swag to her. Shoot.
and even though she talks from her heart and she does well, America, some people would deem her as a poor representation of one of our culture, which she's not. Obviously not, but they'll think that, or they'll just like look at her, look at how she's trying to be. So I don't think that image, America's ready for that image on masses. Us as the African Americans, we're ready for it. We're used to it.
Yeah.
She's one of our heroes. Like I said, I think she's a role model, but I think the other masses would think differently. As far as the Olympic Committee and them suspending her, they did the right thing because you're following reinforcing the rules. That is their job, to enforce rules that are there. Right, wrong, or indifferent. Do I believe this should open the books for them to review the rules? Yes, because you just left out a person that's going to be a big draw to the TV stage, to the TV screen, a big draw to your competitive games. You lost that over a joint. Someone puffing on something that is not illegal. What if she smoked a cigarette? Which we know that's proven wrong, but cigarettes are okay for you to be able to take. And you're not able to take, you're not able to smoke a joint. So I just believe it's time for them to review it so they can make sure they make the right choice next time. You can't keep these high-powered athletes that are not taking performance enhancement drugs off the table.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make any sense to me to leave that draw there. So I applaud her. I think she's, like I said, I think she's a role model. I'm glad. I love the way she's handled herself in front of media. She's being herself. She's being very genuine. But she, like I said, the most important thing to me is she's taking accountability,
Yeah,
and
I
that
agree with
goes. That's values. She's not hiding behind it. She's not saying I did it. I mean, she said, "Hey, I smoked because my mom's death. I was mourning, and I was with some friends and I smoked it." But she's not using it as an excuse. She's just giving you the content behind what she did and why and when she did it. She doesn't say, "Hey, don't suspend me because my mom passed away and I smoked weed." She's not saying any of that.
Good
She's just
point.
saying, "Hey, I was with some friends. My mom passed away. I smoked it. I made a mistake. I wish they would change it, but they can't change the rules, so I'm gonna live with it." You go, girl. Martin Lawrence. You go, girl. So straight on up, man. So
I
I'm
love
with it, man. I'm with her. I wish her much success. I hope she gets some endorsement deals. I hope everything goes right for her. Hope she's able to look past this and use it as something to catapult her somewhere else, and not use it as something that's going to hinder her career.
it. Yeah. There's been athletes, Olympic athletes, who have had far worse issues that have sidelined them, paused their training or their activities, things like that. They've got continued endorsement deals. They've moved on to do other big things. I agree with you that she's not done. We'll see her in 4 more years for sure. She continues to stay healthy. She continues to train. She continues to start surrounding herself with some more. Not saying she doesn't have good people around her already, but continue to surround herself around some more people that can help her continue to grow and just be ready for these types of situations, right? I mean, because every camera, everyone's got their phone, and they're gonna be taking pictures of her every time they see her. Now, oh, what's she doing? Oh, she's at the club. She's at the supermarket. What's she buying? So she's now under that scrutiny because she is so good at what it is that she does. Um, I wish her nothing but the best. I'm glad to see other, again, like I said, people in high profile positions, many people in high profile positions that are coming and also backing her and asking for the IOC to relook at some of the rules. It's unfortunate that we talk more negative about the Olympics tonight. The swim caps, the Sha'Carri Richardson thing, and some of the mental health issues that are happening with some other athletes, things like that. They need to get their stuff together because these are pressing news uh, topics right now that really are tarnishing the perception that we have of the Olympics. Right, you bringing the best from the planet to one location to compete. Let these people compete. Set the rules, keep them in place. Make sure they're the same across the board. But this whole Sha'Carri Richardson thing it's not a good look for the IOC right now, and um, Sha'Carri's gonna come out on top, in my opinion.
Let me ask you a question. Is it
Yeah.
the internet? I mean, the IOC, or is it the U.S. Olympic Committee that's keeping her from performing?
It's a good question. I'm not
It
sure.
is that's a great question. Let me see the Olympic trials. I'm not U.S. Anti-Doping Agency. According, it was the U.S. Anti-Doping. So it's the U.S. Anti-Doping Agency.
So that's an America. So it's not the Olympics. It's America.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
So like I said,
thanks for the clarity.
people
Yeah, it's the U.S. Anti-Doping Agency.
see everybody wants to come to America, and I've lived abroad. I've traveled abroad, and everybody, how is America? I want to come to America, and it's like, as much as we say we love America, America has some true scars, and I mean, this is if the shoe was somebody else of a different color or race or creed, would you have treated them the same way? Because you know that if this happens again and it's a white person, an Asian American, a Latino American, and you don't give them the same punishment as you do Sha'Carri, that's either a lawsuit, or B, it's going to be a lot of unrest with the people that made those
Mm,
decisions.
mm.
So it's unfortunate. Sha'Carri, like I said, I love you. I didn't know who you were, and I was like, hey, I saw you. You were stunting like a daddy, and I was like, you were speaking the language that I understood
Yeah.
and I could relate to, and for that, you won me over. You won a lot of people in the African American community over, and unfortunately, this gives us even more reason to say, how do we have inclusion in those rooms as well? And I think that's the problem that we have. It's like we're playing by somebody else's set of rules, and there's no one in the room representing us, and that has to change. So,
Amen on that. Amen on that. Gentlemen, we had a great conversation. We went a little bit longer today because we had some topics that needed to be needed to peel the onion back a little bit. So appreciate both of you. I'm not mad at you, Montel, for being late, but I got nothing but love for you. Appreciate you, sir, obviously, for what it is that you and I have built here, and we continue to grow this team. No sleep, talking the social impact of sport. Tall boy, look, you got the code. You can always come in the studio. You know that. Um, thank you for being available at that 12th hour for me there as I was scrambling, but
hopefully you'll buy me a coffee. Maybe Montel, since he's late, you can hit him with a fine, and hey, hit Tall Boys, buy me a coffee.
I ain't gonna do
He know about them fines. When you're late, you know what it is, brother. Hit them
What it
stadium
is,
fares.
It's funny. He getting on me, and I get it why. But he ain't gonna say nothing about when he was late a couple of weeks ago.
And we gonna
When he
go
was
ahead
late,
and
we
end
was
the
heading
But
show.
off
look,
to
I didn't get invited. But Montel, I didn't get invited to that show. Montel, I
So
didn't get invited to that show. So yeah, just like his shirt says, he's famous enough, so he can show up whenever he wants to.
get away with the boss nigga get away with it, so it's all good, man. It's all good.
Montel, take us out, brother. Take us out.
Hey man, like I said, man, I'm glad everybody got 10 toes down to 6 feet above the ground. Everybody stay blessed, man, and pay attention to no sleep because we're bringing it to you raw, heavy, and uncut. Let's go.
No sleep.